She had only met him twice when she married him, and within a few weeks, her daughter was dead. The tragic case of Riley Ann Sawyer's trigger warning. Riley was born March 11, 2005 to her mother Kimberly and her father Robert. The pair met in high school and quickly began dating. So when Kimberly found out she was pregnant, she moved into Robert's mother's house, and things went well for a while. But Kimberly began to pull away, and eventually they broke up. So even after the breakup, Kimberly remained living in Robert's mother's house, and his family took care of her and Riley. So Robert and Kimberly remained friends, and they would even start dating new people. Robert's new girlfriend Catherine even moved in, and she and Kimberly called each other sisters. But everyone began to notice that Kimberly was not spending as much time with Riley. During this time, Kimberly became obsessed with a game called World of Warcraft, and she spent most of her days playing it while Robert went to work and his mom watched the baby. It was while playing this game that she met a new man named Royce Ziegler Jr., and they would hit it off pretty quickly. Royce even came to Ohio to visit with Kimberly and met Robert and his family. After Royce left, they continued talking every day, all day online and playing World of Warcraft, and Kimberly just knew he was her ticket out of Robert's house. See, Kimberly was looking for a free ride, and she knew that Royce had a good job, a stable income, a vehicle, his own place. She just knew she would have it made with him. In March of 2007, Kimberly told the police that Robert attacked her, but Robert claimed that never happened, but she took Riley and moved out anyways. By May 23rd, they were back in court to decide who would get custody of Riley, but neither of them had an attorney, so the judge automatically gave Kimberly custody. Shortly after that hearing, Kimberly took Riley and disappeared without notifying the court, which was required. She didn't tell Robert and his family anything. So he got an attorney, and she filed a motion with the court to force Kimberly to bring Riley back or at least tell them where Riley was, but sadly, the judge denied that motion. When Robert found out she filed for child support, he asked Kimberly's family, "Where is she? Where's my daughter?" And Kimberly's family lied to him, claiming they didn't know where Kimberly was, but they knew damn well she took Riley all the way to Texas to be with a man she met online and barely knew. Finally, Robert's attorney learned that Kimberly had applied for a driver's license in Texas, so they sent paperwork to have her served, but Kimberly wouldn't answer the door or phone calls. She knew they were looking for Riley. But she didn't care. She was too busy playing house with Royce, and after only spending 5 days together, these idiots got married and moved in together. At first, Royce showered Kimberly with gifts. He bought her a minivan, new clothes, jewelry, got him a place to stay. Kimberly just knew she'd hit the jackpot with this one. But with all that love bombing came the real Royce, and he could not stand children, and he damn sure did not like Riley. Royce expected 2-year-old Riley to behave like an adult, and when she didn't, it pissed him off. So if she cried, whined, or misbehaved, he became enraged. And he let Kimberly know real quick, "I can't stand your child. She's a brat, she's a nuisance, she's spoiled, she acts out in public, and it embarrasses me." Royce said, "You're too easy on her. You should be teaching her respect like, yes sir, no sir, please and thank you, and if she doesn't say it, then you get the belt and wear her out." He got so bad that within just a few weeks of moving in, he threatened to leave Kimberly if she did not start disciplining Riley the way he wanted her to. So Royce introduced Kimberly and Riley to his family, and his stepmother Nellie fell in love with Riley. But Nellie began to see some red flags when she came to their house one day, and Kimberly answered the door with a belt draped across her shoulders. Later that week, when Nellie was babysitting Riley, she changed her diaper, and that was when she discovered there were bruises all the way across Riley's butt. They were blue, green, black, and purple. When they came to pick Riley up, Nellie made them promise to never beat Riley like that again, and they agreed. Nellie later stated, "I didn't see bruises on Riley after that because I never seen Riley again after that day." Trigger warning, what happened next is horrifying. Viewer discretion advised. July 24th, 2007, Royce took the day off from work and stayed home to teach Kimberly how to discipline Riley his way. Sometime that morning, Royce said Riley was misbehaving because instead of saying, "May I have" or "Can I please have," she said, "I won't." And that was when Royce told Kimberly, "Go get the belt because we need to break her." Kimberly came back with 2 belts, and they both began beating Riley at the same time. Then they stripped her down and beat her where her skin was exposed, which was everywhere because she was nude. When Riley screamed, it made Royce more angry, so he began shoving her face into a pillow to silence her screams. As Riley's skin turned red and began to form whelps, Royce told Kimberly this wasn't enough. They needed to do more to teach her. But things were about to take an even darker turn when Royce told Kimberly to go fill the bathtub up with cold water, and she did. In the bathroom, they beat Riley with the belts, and when she cried, they shoved her head under the water so she couldn't breathe, and they repeated this for hours. At some point, Royce decided Riley had had enough, so they took her in the living room to give her some Tylenol. But as Kimberly put ice packs on her daughter's injuries, Royce changed his mind and decided Riley had not had enough, so he grabbed a thicker belt from the closet, snatched Riley up by her hair, and drug her back into the bathroom and continued beating her even harder. Riley tried her best to run away from Royce, but when she did, he threw the belt around her neck and snatched her back into the bathroom and beat her even harder. Royce grabbed Riley by her hair and threw her around the bathroom multiple times until her head slammed into the tile floor, causing a severe head injury. He then demanded she stand the F up. As Riley tried to stand, her legs crumbled beneath her, but Royce told Kimberly Riley was faking, so they continued beating her. Then Royce told Kimberly to go get the baby Tylenol because Riley hated taking it and he was going to break her from that too. For hours, they beat her, waterboarded her, and shoved the Tylenol dropper down her throat until she complied and took the medicine willingly. They beat her so much for so long that at one point she reached out for the medication to take it just to get the beatings over with, but they didn't stop. Several times throughout the beatings, Riley reached out for her mother and said, "Mommy, please, Mommy, I love you." But Royce told Kimberly that was Riley trying to take control away from her and she shouldn't let that happen, so Kimberly ignored her child's cries and continued beating her. At some point, Riley began to choke. She could no longer chew or swallow the medicine, and that was when Royce and Kimberly realized something was wrong with her. Instead of calling for help, Royce put Riley in Kimberly's arms where she felt her daughter's heart stop beating and she died. They put Riley in the bathtub and covered her up with a towel. Then they went to Walmart and bought supplies like rope, shovels, gloves, a blue tub, bleach, and trash bags. They scrubbed Riley's battered body in bleach and even poured it down her throat to make sure there was none of their DNA left on her. Then Kimberly dressed Riley in her pink outfit and light-up shoes because Kimberly said it would just be wrong if I didn't dress her in her favorite outfit. And then this bitch stood there and held the trash bags open while her husband stuffed Riley inside and covered her with quick mix cement. 10 days later, they were sitting at his job's office party with margaritas in their hands, taking pictures and laughing as Riley rotted away in their garage. After a couple of months, they dumped Riley's body out at Galveston Bay. October 29, 2007, a fisherman found a blue container had washed up on shore in Galveston Bay along the northern Texas shore. Inside that plastic container, he made a terrible discovery of a child's body. Galveston police arrived on the scene, and when they found the child's body, they made her a promise that they would identify her and they would take her back home. This child had so many injuries and had decomposed so much that the medical examiner could not even determine what her cause of death was. The extent of her injuries were described as someone falling from a rooftop landing on a concrete slab. Her skull was broken in 3 places, her vertebrae were broken, her bones were broken, her entire body was injured. The police then brought in a forensic artist to draw a picture of what the child would have looked like before she died. This woman was traumatized and had nightmares for years after seeing this child's body. Police released the picture to the public, and as hundreds of calls began to flood in, they hoped that one of these calls would identify her. A few days later, Robert's mother Cheryl was online when she seen the picture of baby Grace, and something told her that picture was connected to Riley, so she contacted Galveston police. Galveston police contacted Kimberly to find out where Riley was so they could rule her out as being baby Grace. Now, Kimberly told Galveston police that Ohio CPS had come and got Riley and taken her back to her biological father, Robert, and that she had paperwork to prove it. So Kimberly falsified a document and gave it to Galveston police, and they believed her at first until she stopped cooperating, and then they realized that document was fraudulent. The police asked Kimberly for a DNA sample so they could test it against baby Grace's DNA, but before they could get that sample, Kimberly came in with her attorney and she wanted to talk. Kimberly admitted that baby Grace was her daughter Riley, but that she and Royce had accidentally unalived Riley while punishing her. Now, of course, her confession was her protecting herself in hopes that she would get a plea deal for talking and for being so young. Kimberly told police she wasn't worried about Royce physically attacking her, she was more worried about him leaving her with nothing. When police finally caught Royce, he had attempted to unalive himself by taking a bunch of blood pressure medication and left a note saying that he was guilty and Kimberly was innocent. But he changed his tune real quick when his ass was arrested, then he blamed everything on Kimberly. Royce told the police several different stories, but in every story, he was innocent, he wasn't there, and Kimberly was the one who unalived Riley. They were both arrested and their trials began. They were both doing whatever they could to pin the murder on each other, but the jury seen right through it and sentenced both of them to life in prison. The jurors were seen crying throughout the trial because they couldn't believe someone could do this to a child. Police believed they did this out of spite because they knew Robert would take her at any time. All they had to do was call him. Those same police officers who promised to take Riley home did just that. With donations, the police officers were able to fly Riley's remains back home to her father, and the officers even stayed to be pallbearers in her funeral. Now let's take a moment to remember 2-year-old Riley. Riley is described as a beautiful little girl with a big smile. She loved Elmo, the color pink, and playing dress up. She would put on her fairy wings, her tiara, and high heels, and float about the house with a smile. She loved getting dolled up and playing in her grandmother's makeup. She liked to color and draw and look at picture books too. During the Ohio winter, she had so much fun going sledding with her dad. She liked watching cartoons, eating spaghetti, but most of all, she loved her family. The island in Galveston Bay where Riley's body was found has now been renamed Riley's Island. Riley's gravestone reads, "Budded on earth to bloom in heaven." And on the back, it reads Baby Grace. Riley's obituary reads, "Heaven has a brand new angel. Her name is Riley Ann. We have to ask you favors. We know you understand. It's hard for us to let her go so innocent and small. She didn't get to live her life so soon you came to call. We know that you were with her. She was not alone. You saw that she was hurting and chose to take her home. We ask that you take care of her and give her all of our love. We know that she is safe within your arms, dear God above. We love you, Riley. Rest in peace."
you.